Have you ever caught yourself reacting in a way that felt automatic? Like someone criticizes you, and suddenly you're 16 again, defensive, angry, or shrinking away. Or maybe you've noticed how some people seem to carry a calm presence, like nothing really shakes them, while others get derailed by the smallest things. How does our ego shape our understanding of ourselves and the world around us? And more importantly, can it evolve the way our bodies and minds do? If you've ever wondered why some people seem stuck in cycles of drama, while others exude peace, you're in the right place. Today we'll explore the powerful theory of ego development by Jane Loevinger. And along the way, we'll draw beautiful connections to Buddhist wisdom on the nature of self, attachment, and transformation. Welcome to the Bliss of Buddhism, where we explore deep truths with warmth, a touch of humor, and always a compassionate lens. Jane Loevinger may not have worn the robes of a monk, but her work maps the inner world in a way that mirrors many Buddhist teachings. As a psychologist, she studied how our sense of self, our ego, evolves over time. Now, when we say ego, we don't mean it the way pop culture often does. We're not just talking about arrogance or selfishness. Loevinger saw the ego as a lens, a psychological structure that helps us make sense of the world, ourselves, and our relationships. And just like a lens, it can either be cloudy and rigid or clear and flexible. Her theory outlines a journey, a series of stages we can grow through, from basic self-interest and conformity to deeper levels of awareness, compassion, and integration. In many ways, it's a modern psychological echo of the Buddhist path, from ignorance and suffering toward insight and liberation. But here's the issue. Most of us think that once we're grown, we're done growing. We think our reactions, our beliefs, our way of being is just who we are. But in Buddhism, we know that the self is not fixed. It's constantly changing. Clinging to a rigid identity is a source of suffering. Loevinger's theory shows us the same thing from a Western lens. She reminds us that our ego, our way of understanding ourselves, is not static. It can mature. But this process is rarely automatic. Life throws challenges at us. Sometimes we evolve through them. Other times we build thicker armor. So the big challenge is this: how do we grow beyond reactivity and self-protection into wisdom and spaciousness? Understanding the stages of ego is like being handed a spiritual compass. And once we know where we are, we can begin to walk the path more consciously. Let's walk together through Loevinger's stages of ego development. And, along the way, we'll reflect on how each stage connects to Buddhist themes. 1. Pre-social stage. This is the seed. No real concept of self or other exists. It's pure awareness, but without reflection. In Buddhism, this state reminds us of non-duality, but not the awakened kind. It's pre-conscious. There is no suffering, because there's no self to suffer, yet. 2. Impulsive stage. Here, emotions and needs dominate. Children cry, scream, demand. There's no filter. They are their feelings. Adults stuck here may explode in anger, indulge in addictions, or feel life owes them something. In Buddhist terms, this is the realm of craving and aversion, pure tanha, the thirst that leads to suffering. 3. Self-protective stage. Now there's a sense of rules, but only as tools for survival. The mindset is, don't get caught. Morality is strategic, not heartfelt. This is the ego playing defense. Manipulation, blame-shifting, and suspicion arise. This stage mirrors Mara, the trickster aspect of the mind, always trying to protect the illusion of me and mine. 4. Conformist stage. Here, the ego finds comfort in group identity. Right and wrong are defined by social norms. The self is shaped by external approval. People here value being normal, accepted, and may judge anything outside the box. In Buddhism, this reflects attachment to views, the clinging to rituals, dogmas, or identity roles. It's safe, but not liberating. 5. Self-aware stage. The turning point. People begin to notice inconsistencies in themselves, in society. There's curiosity, self-reflection, and emotional nuance, but it's still largely self-focused. How do I grow? What's my truth? This is the start of mindfulness, the ability to observe without reacting. The ego begins to loosen its grip. 6. Conscientious stage. This is a leap. Morality becomes internal. People at this stage take responsibility, seek meaning, and strive for alignment between values and action. It's no longer about approval, but integrity. In Buddhism, this reflects sila, ethical discipline. There's growing compassion, humility, and the beginning of selfless service. 7. Individualistic stage. At this stage, complexity is welcomed. People embrace paradox, recognize the uniqueness of others, and see through many cultural illusions. There's an openness to not knowing. Suffering is seen as part of the human condition, not something to fix but to understand. This is the space of right view, a more liberated way of seeing, without attachment to rigid categories. 8. Autonomous stage. Now the person values both individuality and connection. They experience deep empathy, emotional autonomy, and resilience. They don't need to win arguments or be understood. They're at peace with not being in control. This is the stage of equanimity, or upekkha in Buddhism. A clear, balanced mind that responds without clinging. 9. Integrated stage, rare and luminous. The self becomes fluid and compassionate. The person accepts both light and shadow within themselves and others. There is no need to control, only to be present. This mirrors the awakened mind, the bodhisattva heart that acts with wisdom, yet without ego. Integration is not perfection. It's the full acceptance of the human experience with unconditional compassion. So, why does all of this matter? Not just intellectually, but in the day-to-day reality of our lives. Because so much of our personal suffering, our relationship struggles, even societal conflict, stems from a quiet but persistent illusion. The belief that we are our ego, that our thoughts are facts, that our roles, labels, and stories define our worth. This is what we might call ego confusion, a deeply ingrained identification with something that is, by nature, always changing. Jane Loevinger's work offers a profound reframe. She doesn't ask us to reject the ego or shame it. Instead, she invites us to recognize that the ego is not fixed. It is capable of growth. Through self-reflection, challenge, and awareness, our ego can move from fear and control to wisdom, empathy, and balance. In Buddhism, this evolution mirrors the gradual letting go of attachment, the softening of the self, and the movement toward deeper compassion and insight. As we reach the higher stages of ego development, we begin to see clearly. We react less and respond more. We recognize that others, too, are walking this path, each at their own stage, and that understanding alone becomes the root of true compassion. Let's take a breath and reflect. Jane Loevinger gave us a ladder, but not to climb above others. It's a ladder inward, to deeper authenticity, understanding, and peace. Here's a quick recap of the journey. From impulsiveness to self-awareness, from conformity to conscience, from ego protection to ego transcendence. In the Buddhist view, the self is a wave on the ocean, not separate, but not without form. Loevinger's theory reminds us that the wave can grow more graceful, more aware, and ultimately merge back into the vast ocean of being. The path of ego development is not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming no one in particular and finding deep joy in that liberation. So now I ask you, where do you see yourself on this journey? Which stage resonated most or challenged you? Have you noticed your ego shifting over the years? Share your reflections in the comments. I truly love reading them. We are all growing in different ways, and your story may inspire someone else to take their next step. And if this exploration moved something in you, don't miss our next video, where we dive into the illusion of self from both a psychological and Buddhist lens. It's going to be eye-opening. Until then, stay kind, stay curious, and remember, your ego is not your enemy. It's just a traveler on the path. Guide it gently, and it may lead you home.